Hey everyone, welcome back to Midwest Microbrew. Today I'm talking with Mark Westbrock of PAHA Cider out of Waverly, Iowa. We cover how PAHA went from a homebrewing hobby to a full-blown orchard and cidery, their philosophy on real, locally sourced ingredients, and to walk through their core seasonal lineup, including their fortified Pomeau. Quick note, this is an audio-only episode, so just sit back and listen, and let's get into it. All right. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today on Midwest Microbrew, where it's great to have you on.
Thanks, Henry. It's great to be here.
Perfect. And so, for those of you who don't know, Mark is with PAHA Cider. And, Mark, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you do over there, just to start things off.
Yeah, so PAHA Cider, we are based in Waverly, Iowa, which is northeast Iowa, and we are a hard cider maker. We only make cider, we don't make beer, and we are going on 3 years in business. And we make lots of different kinds of ciders. There's different kinds of ciders for different palates out there. So we make a lot of our ciders go into cans, and they range from semi-dry up to sweet. Use different fruits involved. We also make some heritage or traditional ciders that are just apples, and those are have a little bit more complex flavor. They tend to be semi-dry with some tannins in them, and those more traditional ciders. Some of those we can, some of them we put in glass bottles, and we do other things like barrel aging, fortifying cider to make some special drinks. So
Sounds delicious. I'm a huge cider fan. So,
nice, excellent.
tell me the origin story about PAHA Cider. How'd you guys get started out there?
Yeah, so the I guess the way back beginnings were with me as a home brewer making beer at home starting in 2006, and that hobby rapidly got out of control. I went from extracts, in the kitchen to propane burner, all grain on the back patio to converting a whole room of our house into a brewery that had a stainless steel sink plumbed in and an all electric 10-gallon brew setup with fridges on temperature control for fermentation and kegerator, all that stuff. So a nice fun hobby. Sent our beers to competitions and stuff, and we're
Yeah.
part of an active homebrew club. So that was a lot of fun. And then this was in New Mexico. And then we moved to Iowa, and I was going to set up my brewery in the basement. But to do that, I needed to put in a good ventilation system to get the steam out of the basement, get all set up. So I started working on that. Put a nice 3 basin sink in down there. But at the same time, I was starting up a little diversified farm business here. We've got about 7 acres outside of Waverly. So I was really spending most of my time working on that. We raise pastured poultry, so broiler chickens, egg-laying chickens, turkeys,
Oh, nice.
uh, and then we were growing some mushrooms as well. So my brewery project was falling behind, and meanwhile, my wife was bugging me, "Hey, where's my beer? Why aren't you making me beer anymore?" So then she took it upon herself to buy me a little apple press because a lot less equipment needed. You're not boiling anything when you make cider, so you don't need a place for the steam to go. So got this nice old wooden basket press. A lot more apples available in Iowa than they were in New Mexico.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
started making cider, pressing it in the garage, and then fermenting it in the basement. First year, I don't know, we probably made 15 gallons. Then the next year, we probably made like 30 gallons. The next year, 60 gallons, and it kept growing. And meanwhile, we planted an orchard here. Our first orchard we planted in 2020, and it's about 100 trees. And now we've got about 375 trees. And the original plan was use some of these apples to make cider just for our own consumption, and the rest of the apples, we'll take them to the farmers market and sell them along with our other things we're doing on the farm. Well, we soon figured out that growing fruit in the upper Midwest is a lot harder than growing fruit in a dry climate like New Mexico. A lot
Really?
more disease and pest pressure. And we try to grow with organic methods. So the apples we're growing, they taste delicious, but they don't look beautiful like people want to buy at a farmer's market. So, well, we've got all these trees. Maybe we should have a go at turning this cider hobby into a commercial enterprise. And so we built a building for it. here on the farm, and we sold our first cider in the fall of 2023.
Really? Huh. That's actually a really cool story. That you guys are the first cidery that I've interviewed, but it reminds me a lot of the great breweries that I've interviewed where they kind of started out in home brewing and it,
Yeah,
just like a big passion project for it, and it ended up working out really well for them, and it turned it into something. So it sounds very similar for you. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad it worked out. So this one's a bit of a trickier question, just because it's hard to kind of pare it down. But how would you describe Baja cider in one sentence if you had to pare it down?
Mm. Modern and traditional ciders made with real fruit and nothing artificial.
Nice. All right.
That
You had that answer ready. All right.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to make things that are called cider on the store shelves. And our approach is to start with fresh pressed apples. Some this is not to denigrate anyone, but some mass market ciders, they start with apple juice concentrate and water and ferment that. And then so far, we don't use any refined sugars. So all the sweetening that we do in our ciders, and no artificial sweeteners either. All our sweetening is either with fruit or honey for our sweetening. So those are kind of some of the things that set us apart from
Yeah.
some of the other ciders is our ingredients that we use.
Yeah. It sounds tasty. I appreciate that approach. So
Thanks.
perfect. That kind of leads me to my next set of questions. So do you have like a cider making philosophy that kind of guides you when you come up with these ciders?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess number one, I really don't want to make a cider that I wouldn't want to drink, and that's not to say that I don't prefer some of our ciders over others, but I want everything I make to be something that I would want to drink, but maybe not all the time because there's a lot of different palates out there. We want to make things that everybody can like. And then yeah, kind of the stuff I just talked about, using natural ingredients is really important to us. We also use as many locally sourced ingredients as we can. I talked about we grow apples here, but we do not grow enough apples to make as much cider as we need to make. So we do press some of our own apples here, but then we buy apples from other local growers. We buy juice from one Iowa source. It's a really cool spot down near you in Solon. It's a 20-acre orchard. It's all cider apples. So it's all apples that have been developed to make hard cider.
Is that
And
Wilson's? Is
no, it's not Wilson's. This place, they don't make their own cider. They just
gotcha.
grow apples and sell the juice to cider makers.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They're called Long Lane Orchard.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Uh, yeah. And so we have one of our products. We call it Long Lane Cider, made with some of their late season fruit. And so a cider apple is different from an eating apple. There's different kinds of cider apples, but certain of them are different, like the bitter sweets and the bitter sharps, that they have a lot of tannins. So, they give you a sense of astringency in your mouth, like the tannins in a big red wine. So you bite into one of these apples, and most people would not find it a pleasant experience to bite into it, but you press it into juice and you ferment it, and it's absolutely delicious.
Huh.
So, we get those apples or that juice from apples grown in Iowa. And then really the bulk of our apple juice we get comes from Michigan. So if we can't keep it local, we try to keep it regional. And so we get fresh pressed apple juice from Michigan, apples that are grown right there.
Yeah.
Then other locally sourced things, that the honey that we use to sweeten a lot of our ciders is locally produced honey. We use locally grown rhubarb. We actually make a pumpkin spice cider in the fall. We use
Oh yeah.
locally grown pumpkins and squash that we roast, and then use that in the cider.
Sounds good.
A locally grown aronia berries as much as we can.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, even the more regional ingredients that you were getting from, I think you said Michigan. I mean, that's all Midwest. It's Midwest
Yeah,
microbrew.
yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, the one main ingredient that is frustratingly we can't source in the Midwest so far is pear juice.
huh?
You would think lots of pears grown in the Midwest, but we cannot source any fresh pressed pear juice, so we got to bring that in from the West Coast.
Gotcha. Well, they got good pears over there too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your core lineup. What kind of styles do you always have available?
Yeah, so our core lineup, I'll start with the driest.
Okay.
Our driest core cider is our brute cider, and it's actually a hop cider. So the ingredients are just apples and hops. So we ferment our base cider and then we dry hop it. We don't call it hop cider. We feel like that might scare some people away that might actually like this cider because it's not
Yeah.
hoppy. It doesn't taste like an IPA. Doesn't taste like a pale ale. We
Hmm.
really lightly dry hop it, so you just get those like botanical and citrusy and sometimes tropical fruit aromas and flavors out of the hops. And so it's a really tasty one. It's dry. It's really refreshing and crisp. So that's the brew.
Sounds good.
Next core in the lineup is our pear cider, and that one's just apples and pears and just a tiny bit of vanilla to accentuate that pear flavor. And that one's it's in the classification scheme. It's right on the border of semi-dry to semi-sweet, so there's not too much residual sugar in there. So it's not like cloying at all. Really refreshing, but it's got enough sweetness for a lot of people. And that one is actually our best seller year round. So
Oh,
our
really?
seasonal ones do really well. Like in any given month, like in July, our best seller is probably our summer seasonal. I can
Yeah.
talk about later, but if we look at our sales year round, our pear cider is our best seller.
Gotcha. Huh.
Yeah. And then next in our core is our sweet cherry cider. And so when we started, our tastes kind of lean towards the more dry ciders. And when we started, the pear cider was actually our sweetest cider. We had a lot of feedback from people saying, "Oh, your cider, it's good. I wish you had something sweeter." So our first summer, we released our sweet cherry as our summer seasonal, and it was very popular. So we kept it on and added it to our core lineup, and we eliminated one of our others. So the
Yeah.
sweet cherry, it's just all that's in it is apples and Montmorency tart cherries, and it's sweet. It's really fruity. It's got this really nice dark pink color, so that's a really good one. And then the last of our core that we always have available is a bit different. It's technically not a cider. It's a sizer, Cyser, and a sizer is apples fermented with honey. So what we call it imperial apple, because
Mhm.
nobody knows what a sizer is. So imperial, people can understand that. So it comes out at 9.5% ABV. The others I just talked about, they're right around 5.5 to 6%.
Okay.
So our imperial's 9.5%, and we'll ferment local raw honey with the apple juice, ferment it out dry, and then we age it on oak and back sweeten with just a little bit of apple juice. So it's not totally bone dry. It's semi-dry, but it can kind of trick you into thinking it's sweeter than it is because of that honey. Even though that honey was all fermented, you still get the honey flavor. So
Yeah.
it's a really good one. And that one, it's a little bit. The price on that is a little higher than our other four ciders.
Yeah. Well, you're getting more alcohol out of it too.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Oh,
Yep.
well, that all sounds really tasty.
Thanks.
So you talked a little bit about your like the most popular cider during the summer, and that you also have seasonal ciders that you release. Is there anything coming out soon that people should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, well, first they should be on the lookout for our summer seasonal, which is honey rhubarb. We released that one. It was so popular last summer that we released it a little earlier. So we released it in April. So it's kind of our spring slash summer seasonal.
Okay.
And so that one, it's sweet. It's one of our sweetest ciders. It's got a little zing from the rhubarb, and it's got some nice honey flavor. And so
Hmm.
that one it's running low. The cans will be out there for a while. We're running low on kegs, and so we're going to release kind of a late summer seasonal. And for that, we're actually bringing back one of our original core ciders that we phased out, and it's blueberry aronia. So it's apples, blueberries, and aronia berries, and it's nice and tart. Got a beautiful purple color. It's really really refreshing in the summer. So we thought that'd be a good one to bring back. Some people miss it and ask about it. So that
Yeah.
one will be coming out on tap in early August and in cans in late August.
Yeah. Good for the longtime fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then after that, people are going to be lined up waiting for our pumpkin spice because that one was a big hit last year. So
Yeah, I bet
that'll
that's that's probably pretty popular.
yeah, yeah. It
All the
sounds
rage
it
around
sounds
here.
kind of weird, a pumpkin spice cider, but it's pretty tasty. It's got real pumpkin in it, and then of course your usual kind of pumpkin pie seasonings.
Yeah, that flavor usually translates pretty well to everything. I would say I've never
Yeah,
really had a bad pumpkin spice anything. So
yeah.
yeah, I can see that being really good. I'll be on the lookout for that one. So, for someone new to cider, which one would you recommend as an introduction?
Yeah, well, what I usually when people come up to me, we do like farmers market booths and tastings and other things. They ask me, well, which one should I try? So
Hmm.
I always shoot it back at them. Do you like more dry or more sweet?
Yeah.
And so for people that like more dry things, I'd go with the brute. It's that dry hopped one that's really crisp and refreshing. And if they like sweet, then it's a tough call between the cherry and whatever seasonal we have because our seasonals are always sweet.
Yeah.
But if you want to take one cider to really answer your question, it's going to please the biggest range of people. If you don't know what someone's taste is and you want to bring them some of our cider to try, you gotta go with the pear. It's
Gotcha.
right in the middle for sweetness. It's super refreshing. They've been pouring it out on Ragbri the last few days, and
Oh yeah.
people really enjoying it while they're out there pedaling in the
Oh,
heat.
I'm sure that's refreshing, especially as it's been so hot.
Yeah,
That's got to
yeah,
taste great.
yeah.
That sounds really good. What's the biggest misconception that people have about cider?
Well, I'd say probably the biggest one is that it's always sweet. Some people, say, I'd like to try some cider. Oh no, I don't like sweet things. And that's because a lot of the ones traditionally that have been on the shelves, in the grocery store for years are very sweet, a lot sweeter than any of our ciders. So I
Mm,
really enjoy having people tell me they don't like cider and then pouring them one of our dry ciders and having them have a big smile
yeah.
and enjoy it. So
Yeah, that's a good answer. There's something for everyone for sure.
yeah,
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 don't be too quick to write it off if sweet isn't your thing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll often tell people when they say, "Oh, I don't like cider," I'll say, "Well, our cider's different."
Yeah, I believe it. You got a lot of options, so it sounds great. How would you describe the Iowa cider scene? Is there anything that makes it stand out among like the other states, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's definitely growing. Some like Minnesota has a Minnesota cider guild, and we just don't have enough cideries in Iowa to make that feasible. So, we're members of the Iowa Brewers Guild, which is a great community of mostly beer brewers, but there's a few of us cideries in there. And cider it has a lot in common with beer. The making of it is more similar to wine, but like the marketing of it and the audience for it is more akin to the craft beer industry. But there's some good cider makers out there. I'm in Iowa that are some of them are pretty big and they're distributing all over the place and they make some really good cider. And then there's some smaller ones that just have little tasting rooms that are making really delicious cider as well. But it's a really good community. Everybody supports each other and helps each other out.
Yeah,
It's a good community.
sounds great. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of crossover, especially between the beer and the brewing, so it makes sense. So, kind of getting into some of the closing questions here. If someone could only try, and this is similar to one of your earlier questions, I guess, but
Hmm.
if someone could only try three things at your cidery, what would you recommend? They could get like a range.
Ooh, okay. So I have to say the pear cider because that's the
Hmm.
crowd pleaser.
Right.
And then I would say it's going to depend on exactly when you're here. So we traditional ciders we make, those are really dependent on the apple harvest and what apples we get that year at that time. So we do a few small batch traditional ciders. And so whichever one of those that we have on tap at the time, like right now we have our Kingston Black on tap in the cidery, and you can find our Long Lane cider in the stores. It's a really different experience. It's got those tannins and just complex apple flavor. So
Hmm.
there's two, and then the third, I'm gonna have to say our Pomeau. Have you ever heard of Pomeau? So Pomeau, it's originated in France, and it's a fortified cider. So the way we make it, we take our fermented hard cider, so just apples fermented. It's around 6.5% ABV. We take that to a distiller, and they distill it into spirits for us. So it's basically apple brandy. But my understanding is to call it brandy, it's got to be aged in barrels. So when it's just distilled, it's eau de vie or just apple spirits.
Gotcha.
These spirits come back to us. They're like 160 proof, so
Wow.
80% alcohol.
Wrong.
So we take those spirits and we blend them back with fresh pressed apple juice, like not just any apple juice, like not the bulk stuff we get from Michigan, but like local cider apples that have got some tannins and really nice flavor. So we blend those spirits back with the juice, and the result is about 20% ABV. And then we put that into oak barrels and we let it age for usually about a year. And then we pull it out of there, and it's just a delicious uh aperitif, or we what we call it on the labels, apple dessert wine. Kind of like a port. You just want to have a couple ounces of it, maybe after dinner, and sip on it. It's sweet, but it's really strong and it's smooth, and it's a really a special treat.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great. A lot that goes into that process.
Yeah,
I'm sure it turns out very well.
yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah. What's the best way for people to stay connected with what you guys are doing?
Best way, probably two ways. Social media, we're on Instagram and Facebook, and then we do a newsletter. We send an email, usually just once or twice a month. We send an email newsletter, let you know what's going on. And you can sign up for that newsletter at our website, which has a lot of good information. It's just pahasider.com,
Mhm.
PAHACIDER.com. You can sign
Okay.
up for our newsletter and find out what's going on. We do open house events at the cidery. We don't have a tap room or tasting room, but we at our production facility on the farm, we do open houses
Oh,
about once a month in the summer. So our next one's coming up August 9th. We've got, our ciders on tap, and then we have some local beers on tap as well.
mhm.
Food truck outside, picnic tables out under the trees, sometimes live music.
Oh,
We're right on the bike trail, rail trail. It goes from like Waverly to Reedland, so a lot of people ride their bicycles right to our place. That's a good time.
sounds like a great time. Yeah. And I'll make sure for all of our listeners and readers for the article that your website and all the links are put there for them to access. So,
Cool. Awesome.
all right. And then, do you have any final thoughts or messages for people who would be considering a visit after hearing this?
Yeah, just even if you might think you might not like cider, give ours a try. We've got a lot of different options, and come spend a Sunday afternoon out here drinking cider and enjoying nature.
Perfect. Yeah. Sounds like a good time. All right. You heard it, guys. Head on over. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time. I appreciate having you on today.
Thanks a lot, Henry. That was fun. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for today. Be sure to check out some of our other exclusive interviews with the people from the best breweries in the Midwest. Bye now.